This episode of the Free Lunch Podcast is brought to you by the Selma Project, an initiative created to infuse hope and inspiration into the youth of Selma, Alabama through culture, art, and entertainment. This initiative calls on friends of the Selma movement to use their gifts and talents to pave a road to success for future generations. Check them out, selmaproject.com, and brought to you by faithful listeners everywhere. And now to the show. Welcome to the New South Movement.
Ladies and gentlemen, a classic.
This love. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Yeah, I chose the path chose me. It's a Lord's plan, divine decree, natural high, window sheet, upper parallel view, let the ghetto see. BK, NOLA, OMF, GLD, Amazing Grace, Hater Whispers.
Welcome to the Free Lunch Podcast, home of the New South Movement. This is your boy Tight, and I got my man B Jeezy with me. B Jeezy, no game, no gimmicks. What's happening?
Once again, third time is a charm, but we stick with it and we get it done. Free Lunch Podcast, your boy B Jeezy, the 27 kid. What's going on, Tight?
Man, just trying to get prepared for these shows. Is if people knew what we went through. And the funny thing is, I've been listening to our promos, but the funny thing is, the Ronda Rousey, her fight took less time it took for us to get going, sir.
34 seconds is what they say. We definitely need longer than 34 seconds to get this done, but it's a part of it, man. It take a little bit on the front end to get this podcast produced. So whatever it take, we willing to do it.
So anything been going on with you?
Oh, man, we got this 50th celebration coming. Time is winding down, and I'm about ready for us to go ahead and kick it off so I can rest, man. It's been a lot of work going into it. Good work, but I'm ready for a little break now. But other than that, I ain't got nothing popping off. How about yourself?
We did the thing on Wednesday, man. It was really, really inspirational to go to Emerging Scholars. Shout out to the students at the Emerging Scholars Academy. Middle school students had the opportunity to talk to them about podcasting, share with them who we were, but more importantly, talk to them about their journey and really listening and following their heart. Today had the opportunity to go to the house of the Lord, and ironically, the exact passage that I share with the young people, the pastor kind of talked about that today in his sermon. So for me, that's kind of confirmation, affirmation that this thing that we doing weekly with the podcast is kind of something that we should be putting out there in the universe. So whenever you get signs and symbols like that, I take those as universal, spiritual omens to continue the journey.
And those kids were excited. I got a chance to talk to them, of course, through the Skype or whatnot, and the questions that they asked, they were really glad to have you in there. So I'm thankful that you allowed me to be a part of that, and I'm sure they got something from it. But dog, I'm excited today.
I am too. We
got family in the building, and I'm sure our listeners are going to be excited to hear what she has to offer. So we worked on it. We had to reschedule a couple of times, but we made it happen.
We did, and I'm excited that we have the opportunity to introduce to the Free Lunch Podcast family another family member, someone that I had the opportunity to meet. Man, did we meet in probably
20 years ago?
It feels like it's definitely been over 10 years, or it seems like 10 years, and I'm over here breaking stuff in the studio. I do apologize for that lack of etiquette there, but I'm okay. I am okay because nobody asked how I was doing. I'm fine.
You caught me off guard. That never happened.
But to get back to the serious point, yeah, we've been knowing this young lady for over 10 years. Had the opportunity to meet our guest today that's going to share with us a very inspirational story. Had the opportunity to meet her over 10 years ago in Houston, Texas. Bonded, really got to know each other, and even had the opportunity to bring her down to Auburn, Alabama. Road tripped down to Auburn, met a lot of the boys, and from that point forward, just been family. So before I bring in BG, you want to add anything to that?
Nah, we love her to death. She's consistent, always there. Has one of the biggest hearts that I've ever been exposed to, and I'm just blessed to have a connection with her and the other two members of the H-Town 3. Man, they ride for you. You talk about a road trip, man. They've made plenty of road trips. Whenever you call, they come. So you gotta love it when you got people in your corner like that.
So before we bring her out, should we go by the name we using, the auntie name we using?
No, I don't think we gonna do that.
Should we go by?
We gonna do that?
Well, should we go by the IG name? I mean, so many names. What should we call her?
We ain't finna go by that one. We got a up to date, fresh and funky. We can't have no aunties on here, can we?
No further ado, we like to welcome Selena to the show. Selena, what's happening?
Selena.
Y'all are crazy, and y'all are awesome as well. Hello, y'all. Thank y'all so much for having me on. It's definitely a privilege and an honor to be on the show with you guys. You guys have totally trailblazed this podcast show in the South, so I'm totally excited to share my story, and thank you for having me on.
Boy, our male listeners gonna be trying to figure out who this is we got on this mic today. Boy,
she fine now. She fine.
Did you hear that?
Oh my God.
For anybody that for all our male listeners, if you want to go, Selena, what's your IG handle so they can look you up and they can believe.
My page is private.
It's private.
That I know.
Sorry, guys.
Is it private?
Sorry.
Yeah, it's private. Sorry, guys.
Oh man,
They gonna be trying hard to figure out because she just
telling
gave that intro right there, boy.
I'm telling you.
I just sweating. Anyway, I'm just playing.
Just so we can give the male listeners a visual. Can you describe your ethnicity?
Oh Lord. My mother is from Mexico and my father is African American.
Hey, mama.
Yeah,
Like,
shout out to Selena's mom. She loved them. She can. Where you took her to? What is it? Lake Charles? Is it Lake Charles?
Yeah, for Mother's Day. Yeah, we went to Lake Charles.
Yeah.
Let her sit in front of the slot machine for a little bit. That's what she liked to do. Post up, drink some cranberry juice, and play the slots.
Yeah, we love mama too. Selena don't pass messages, but mama, if you listening to this, I'll be there soon to come visit. Hang out, go dancing.
She loves you guys too, for sure.
So I got another question for you before we actually dive into the interview.
Of course.
How do you know? Question: is that the same Poe Johnson? And I haven't talked. I didn't know that that you knew her, but we haven't even talked about this. But is that the same Poe Johnson that that's on one of them reality TV shows?
Yeah, that is a longtime girlfriend of mine. She actually, my high school sweetheart, went to high school in Missouri City, which she went to.
She from Mo City?
We all were mutual friends, but yeah, she was on Lala's Full Court Life.
Yeah, I didn't know she was from Mo City.
Wow.
Oh yeah, she's from Mo City.
I didn't know.
And she'll actually be here next weekend, so I'm looking forward to spending some time with her.
I'm telling you, she's a silent assassin. I'm telling you, BG. Have you ever heard even heard the other celebrities she knows? That's who I should have did for. That's what I should have did for the intro for the Vine. No, for the Vine.
Oh, for the Vine. Oh,
yes, that's what I should have did. Should we bring that out? Selena don't even mention
know.
that.
She might not want us to know this.
I don't care. I'm an open book.
You are an open book. You are an open book. So and maybe you can share this as part of your story when you were running track in what was it, in New Orleans or in Baton Rouge?
Baton Rouge.
It was in Baton Rouge when you befriended one of the No Limit soldier pioneers.
I did, and it's funny because we were both children at that time. But yeah, actually every year my track team and our coach would take us to the LSU Indoor Invitational every January. And that particular January, came across Silk the Shocker and C Murda and a couple of the other guys in the crew at that point. And yeah, we were friends for quite some time. I actually spoke with him a few months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
What is Silk the Shocker doing now?
Hard to the game, Silk the Shocker.
What is he doing now? Can we get him on the podcast? Can you make that happen?
I mean, I'm sure he wouldn't mind. It's definitely not a bad idea to ask.
Road trip.
I
didn't even know. I
know it. That's why we want to ask Lita on the show, because there's a lot that she can really share with the audience. So now that we've gotten that whole entertainment kind of shindig out of the way, really wanted to take a serious moment and allow Selena really to, or allow Selena to use this platform to share her story. And I think it's one that it's going to be really inspirational to a lot of women and to a lot of listeners in general. I thought about the Ronda Rousey, and I was like, man, how Ronda's been really being a woman empowerment and empowering a lot of women. Hopefully Selena's story can do the same, be kind of empowering and kind of allow people to really to live out their truth and even find their truth in some cases. So that was my hope for this podcast, BG.
Well, I like that, but before we get to that, I still got some more ratchet I need to get out. I got somebody I want to put on. I want to put somebody on the prayer line. I need to put somebody on the prayer line.
What's the more ratchet we getting out of here, man?
I need to put the American and the international media on the prayer line for trying to convince us that Caitlyn Jenner, a.k.a. Bruce Jenner, is more of a woman than Serena Williams. Where they do that at?
I'm not even getting into that one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to put them on the prayer line for that, so they can think about that, reflect on it, and reverse the decision, because that don't make sense to nobody in this here universe.
Absolutely not. I agree.
Proceed.
And well, if we want to put folks on the prayer line, we need to put people on the prayer line that's talking about what's the name of that line? Cecilia?
Cecil.
The only
Cecil.
Yeah, the only line that I weep for is Mufasa.
They got Cecil brother too. That was their more recent headline.
Well,
somebody gunned Cecil brother down.
Yeah, I saw that. But they were trying to, I don't know if they were verifying because they were getting conflicting reports. But Cecil, if it wasn't Mufasa, then they might as well not even report that story because that's much ado about nothing for all the stuff that's going on. An
absolute distraction.
A distraction, bro. A distraction.
All the stuff that's going on in the United States, and they talking about Cecil. Shoot, get out of here.
Yeah.
Can we go? Anyway. Are we still on ratchetness?
You got more?
I don't, but I mean, obviously you do. I tried to go into a serious conversation.
I got mine out. I just had to get that
Selena,
out.
You got some ratchetness you want to get out?
No.
Selena?
No, look at that.
You were mute. You got any ratchetness you want to get off your chest?
Me?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm asking you. This is a question to Selena.
I'm fine. My story is ratchet enough. It does have its ratchetness parts to it. So.
Okay.
Well, there it is.
There it is. So this concludes our 10-minute or 13-minute segment on ratchetness.
Who sponsored that?
Exactly. That was brought to you by Thomas Allen Collection.
You're alive.
That was brought to you by the Thomas Allen Collection, when tying and not really counts. Thomas Allen Collection is a men's accessory line designed to attract and capture a variety of tastes with a unique appeal. Thomas Allen strives to produce extraordinary designs to turn on a new leaf on fashion for men and their desired occasions. I actually own 2 Thomas Allen Collection ties that I've worn multiple times, looking to get a third one. I've worn them to congressional black caucuses. They've stood out. I've been I mean, they've really gotten a lot of attention each and every time that I worn them. So I know BG, you own a few, so I'm pretty sure you can share with the listeners some of your experiences with the tie.
I killed them. I got this purple bow tie that we got from one of the weddings that I wore to like other formal occasions and killed with it. It got the got the little paisley design in it that's real discreet. It's cold blooded. So yeah, I rock that too. I apologize because the ties ain't ratchet, so it don't really fit with the ratchet segment. But we appreciate the sponsorship, Thomas Allen.
Thomas Allen
Check
Collection.
him out.
Yep, ThomasAllenCollection.com. ThomasAllenCollection.com. You can also reach out to him at 678-960-9171. 678-960-9171. Selena, you got anybody you want to purchase a Thomas Allen Collection tie?
Inquiring minds want to know.
Not at this moment, but thank you.
Okay, well,
She ready. She is ready. She is media ready.
I'm telling you that you've been taking media class. What's going on?
Baby, this is what I do. What y'all want to talk about?
So,
Anything.
well, feel free to send. Feel free to send our friend Sip the Shocker a Thomas Allen Collection tie as we invite him on to the Free Lunch podcast to discuss the No Limit Soldiers and how that became revolutionary. So,
Absolutely.
okay, so let's jump into the show. I kind of gave an intro earlier, and I really want Selena to share her story. So, Selena, you mentioned earlier you have your mother is from Mexico. Your dad is black, African American. Can you just talk about that experience growing up as a biracial and young lady in Houston, Texas? How was that experience within itself?
The experience in itself for me wasn't like I would say many others. You know, growing up, I heard and saw on TV different stories about kids being confused and, you know, certain parts of the family not accepting them, one side accepting them, the other side not so much accepting them, and they didn't know whether to be black or they didn't know whether to be white or Hispanic or whatever the other part of them was. But my experience, you know, my parents never really had to like force me to choose. It was never spoken. It just what it was. And I just completely embraced, as a kid, both aspects of my culture. And I don't know if it's because I had a good amount of time or spent a good amount of time between both sides of the family. But I never felt different. Mm-hmm. I always knew I was biracial. Some kids growing up would ask, what are you? I would say that I'm both. I'm Mexican and I'm black. And I never was confused about that. Mm-hmm. I was fortunate enough to go to a school that was diverse enough where it really wasn't an issue. Everyone treated me the same. Whenever I spent time with my Mexican side of the family or the black side of my family, for the most part, everyone treated me the same. It wasn't anything abnormal. I never felt out of place. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's because my parents didn't make a big deal out of it. Maybe that's why, now that I'm thinking about it. But generally speaking, I was just a normal kid.
Growing up, if you could just give the audience listener kind of the structure of your family. So when I say the structure, were you the only child in your household? Did you have older siblings, younger siblings? I know the answer to these, but I think that it's good for the audience just to have a sense of the structure of your house and how things kind of went on a daily basis.
The story was, and keyword is my mother moved here from Mexico. My grandfather brought my mom and the rest of the children over when she was about 15. She married quickly or young, which is typical. When they moved to California, she met her first husband. She married quickly at 18. Had 3 children. By the time she was in her mid-20s, moved to Houston. My father, on the other hand, was from Chicago. He was an Air Force guy, ended up in Beaumont, Texas, after retiring from the Air Force, had 2 children, moved to Houston. They met, had me, And I was raised as an only child. My mom's children stayed in California from her first marriage, and my dad's kids from his first marriage stayed in Beaumont. So essentially, I was the only child, grew up completely solo. I had a really good setup, I can't lie. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad, he worked for which was called U.S. Customs at the time. I think it's called something else now. And it was extremely traditional household. Stay-at-home mom, dad provides. It was so traditional to where my mom managed no money. She literally was given an allowance to, take care of groceries or anything that I may need, things of that nature. But it was very structured, very traditional, very routine, and extremely stable, which are all good things. But as an adult, some of those, too much of that could be a little not so great, but that's a whole other story. Anyhow. But yeah, I was raised as an only child. I embraced it. I never asked for siblings. I specifically remember having a conversation with my mom at like 6. We were coming from Dairy Queen because we got ice cream cones, and she asked, do I want a little brother or a little sister? And I specifically remember turning my head like real slow, like, are you crazy? And I was like, no, I'm good. Like, I'm okay by myself. So I grew up all alone. I always had friends, but only child.
Oh wow. Did you even, and BG, I don't know if you had a question, follow-up question with that, but did you communicate to, or did you see your mom communicating to her children that were in California? And same question with your dad. Was he in constant communication with his children in Beaumont?
Apparently my dad and his kids, apparently, allegedly, before I was born, he was consistently trying to, stay a part of their lives, visiting them on Christmas, taking my mom with him, trying to, perhaps kind of working it up to where it would eventually be a blended family. But on that side of the fence with his ex-wife, not of course, but I'm assuming based on what I know as an adult, but at that point, I guess his ex-wife wasn't feeling it like that, just kind of made it a little bit more difficult. And I think by the time I came and grew older and kind of started realizing as a kid, like, I didn't see much of him doing that. But my mom said that he did do a lot of that prior to me coming. My mom, on the other hand, her kids, of course, there's two sides to every story. My mom didn't voluntarily leave her kids in California. However, her ex-husband, of course, told the children that she abandoned them. So she really didn't communicate with them as much as you think one should, I guess. I think she may have, I really have never asked her these questions, but I feel maybe she was discouraged, just kind of gave up and just put all of her love and time and effort into me once I was born, unfortunately, which isn't good. I'm not saying that's good. I love my mom to death, but her children in California, her oldest son hates her. The middle child loves her. They actually talk very often. And her youngest daughter despises her as well. So
the way that they
really tried to keep in touch.
So the way that they feel about her, do they feel about you the same way? So the ones that don't like your mom, they don't have anything to do with you, or is there any relationship there?
I tried when MySpace first came about. I attempted to connect with my older brother.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And he just, you can sense people's vibes even through social media. So it was just kind of like, oh, that's cool. I'm glad you're connecting, but I don't know if I'm ready to talk to you. It's like, really, dude? My middle sister, Patricia, she's more open. Like I said, her and my mom have been communicating for, years now. It's been since I was in high school. She's kind of like, whatever happened, Mom, that's what happened. I want a relationship with you and Selena. And her and I talk every now and then, but her and my mom talk more often. And the youngest, she wants to be in communication with me, but it's kind of like her and my older brother and myself. It's like, yeah, it's cool, but you could just feel like the bad vibes. You know what I mean? Like, I know It's not your fault, Selena, but we really not feeling you because we didn't get our mom like you got our mom.
What's the ethnicity, if you don't mind me asking?
They're Mexican.
Let me ask this question, Selena. So you seem to have a pretty good grasp on, the history and the rundown of it. Is this information that you had access to as a small kid and getting bits and pieces as you were growing up, or was it just like one day when you just had a conversation with your mom that really get an understanding of what had gone on?
I was pretty young when she started sharing this information with me. I would say as early as kindergarten, first grade, that age.
Really?
Because there was probably a couple of times where my older brother on my dad's side would come to our house. So he came a couple of times, and of course my mom would mention, about my brother and my sisters in California, and she would explain it to me. And I had an idea, but of course, as I got older, it made more and more sense. So yeah, I knew about them pretty much my whole life.
So if we continue the story, because I think that's a good introduction and a really good breakdown as to the structure and how things kind of were with you growing up. But can you kind of talk about, I guess, your elementary school days? Given all this information that you were capturing and what you were learning, did that affect you in any kind of way?
No, not at all. I think as a kid, I embraced it for what it was. I didn't desire, unfortunately, as I stated earlier, which being an only child has its bad parts too. I think that might have been the early developments of selfishness in myself, to where, okay, it's cool, I have siblings or whatever in California, but I really don't care if they're here or not, kind of a thing.
Right.
So day to day, I mean, I'd go to school. Now, when you're an only child, you're alone all the time, so it really doesn't make a difference. The only people that you need are your parents. So going to school and being involved in sports, and I was in dance and all those kind of things. Of course, I had friends, slumber parties. I would attend different school dances and all that kind of stuff. But I never, had the desire like, oh my gosh, I wish my siblings were here with me. I wish I had a big brother to take up for me. It was never like that. My dad and my mom were really all that I needed. I was with my mom, of course, a whole lot because she was a stay-at-home mom. And that was a fortunate part. A lot of moms would like to stay at home with their kids.
Right.
And my dad was just extremely structured, very traditional, he was definitely the disciplinarian. And they played their roles to the T.
Right. So let's fast forward then. So you get to be the age of what's 14? High school? Is that high school? So I guess 14.
That was, yeah, for me it was 8th grade going into high school, yeah.
Okay, can you kind of share with the listeners what happened your 8th grade going into the ninth grade year as far as the family structure?
So that particular year, and it's interesting because I think I'm pretty in tune. I mean, a lot of us, have gifts, but I think one of my gifts is I'm highly intuitive, and the prior year had, maybe it was God or the Holy Spirit or whatnot, I just felt or heard this voice saying, your dad's not going to be with you very long. And, you brush it off. I was in the freaking 7th grade, like, okay, well, that'd be pretty bad, but
what's the age
whatever.
difference? If you don't mind me asking, what was the age difference between you and your parents? Were they extremely older? I mean, like, were they in their mid to late 30s? Were they in their early 40s, or were they a little younger when they actually had you?
Oh gosh, my mom was 30 when she had me. My dad was 52 at the time, so
52?
they had a huge age difference.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, he scooped him up a young one. So
I wasn't gonna say nothing, but
no, that's important. That's important though, because when
that's
a very valid point, because now you're 14, and your dad is how old at this point?
66.
He was 66.
Yeah, 66. Right, your dad's 66 and you're 14, so that's important to make that point. I didn't even think about that until now.
Oh yeah, and that's probably why I felt like in a lot of instances as a preteen and not being able to go and do certain things, like I just felt like you're old, you don't understand. You're just trying to trap me kind of a mentality, which I think most teenagers go through, but I just felt like he was extra tough on me.
During that period? Were you in a
Oh, yeah.
were you in a rebellious stage at that age, kind of that eighth
It
grade,
was
ninth
getting there.
grade? It was getting there.
It was definitely getting there.
Okay, so what happened?
So speaking of that, so of the rebellion stage, so back during those times, Astroworld. I know y'all aren't from Houston, but Astroworld was like this huge thing. It was a theme park.
I remember.
If you were a
Astro. Well,
preteen or
I thought it was Six
teenager,
Flags though.
what?
Wasn't it Six Flags?
Yeah, Six Flags Astroworld.
Okay, I remember. Yeah.
So that was like our thing to do on the weekends, right? So me being rebellious, I was gonna sneak out to Astroworld this particular Sunday, June 11th, 1995, and
You remember the date.
I do.
Gotcha.
And I'm on the phone plotting with one of my friends, and my dad comes in fussing like, "You need to take these dishes out the dishwasher." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." And I roll my eyes, and I'm like, "I'll do it later, Dad." So that was the last time I saw my father. Unfortunately, and my mom came home. She had went to church that morning, came home, and this was maybe 20 minutes after he told me to do that, and she goes to the back. She asks, where's Daddy? I was like, he's in the back somewhere. I'm still on the phone plotting, trying to figure out how I'm going to get to Astroworld. And she's screaming, and it turns out he had a heart attack in the bathroom. And that was that.
Oh man.
Now, I'd like to add in how, and this is kind of off topic, how life, which I truly believe can breathe life, because my father had one of the first triple or quadruple bypass heart surgeries prior to me being born, and was given a year, slightly over a year, to live after that procedure, and he went on to live 14 more years.
Oh wow.
And I think I'm not, Lord knows I'm not tooting my own horn, but I'm just saying the power of life around you is so significant. So he passed away from the very thing that should have taken him years before. And I do find some peace with that. His will was done.
Right.
Did it take you a while to get to that point of having that peace though? I'm
Oh,
sure it was probably
absolutely.
tough.
Absolutely. And not only just, time does heal mourning, I believe. I just also think because of the age that I was at, I was very immature, of course. I was a teenager. You're like, your dad passes away, you're sad about it, but you really don't know how to deal with it. And I'm not saying, even some adults don't know how to deal with it. We learn to deal in different ways, but for me, it did take a while. I would say I really didn't find peace with it until I was maybe mid-20s.
Question I have is, did you feel like, given your dad had a heart attack and the conversation that had happened prior to those 20 minutes or what have you, have you carried a burden to think that you played a part in his death?
I don't.
Okay.
I carry the burden of treating my parent that way.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking to my dad that way.
Oh, you can't. Oh, I got you. Oh, I see.
However, carrying a burden of that would play a part in his death, that death is the Lord's will in however way it comes. Mm-hmm. So, but I do absolutely take responsibility, unfortunately, for, reacting that way as an immature 14-year-old,
So what happened? What happened after the death with you? So you're 14, you just lost your dad. How do you respond those high school years and even post high school?
You know what? I really didn't respond. To me, and it sounds pretty ridiculous. Of course, I cried at the funeral. I cried a little bit afterwards. But after that, my life with high school and high school sports and summer sports, my life became so busy and active. It almost felt like, I decided not to deal with it. It was easy for me not to deal with it.
So was that intentional to stay busy?
Yes.
Huh. And then the next question: how did y'all survive when your mom didn't have a job?
So fortunately, because my father was retired Air Force and he worked for the government for so long, in addition to other things, he had it set up to where she wouldn't have to work at all, even after his death.
Okay. So y'all still had income coming in even after his death.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And I can't imagine. That
Exactly.
be
It's so
tough
deep right there.
at 14. I mean, at 14, you're going into this period of your life where you're transitioning, you're going through puberty and all that it brings, and all of that, and then that to go through that period of of life without that balance that you've had, growing up as a small child. I can't even imagine. So that's a large degree of strength on you, and your mother's behalf. How is she responding at this moment, with all
She
that's going
was,
on?
oh, yeah, she was completely lost. Um, you know, her only job for that large portion of her life was just me, making sure I'm okay, I'm doing okay in school, but taking care of things around the house, managing the money. Um, those were the two major things that, I mean, everything surrounded my dad. He told us what we were going to do on the weekends. We're either going out or we're not going out. You do need to buy this, you don't need to buy that. We can get this, we can go here. She was just kind of lost. Not kind of, she was lost.
So who took over the finances? Which actually I kind of want to ask the question: and was that foreshadowing of you taking the major that you took? But who took over the finances? Did you step in and start having to take on a heavier responsibility during that time?
Oh gosh, no. Oh gosh, no. My mom's whole thing around me was, and it could be probably the guilt from her not raising her children from her first marriage, was to make life as easy for me as possible. So there was no way she was going to get me involved in attempting to help her manage the household, let alone the household bills. So she took it over on her own. I'm not sure. It was just, we never discussed it. She wanted me to be a teenager and keep doing teenager things. And of course, in my mindset, I wasn't like, you know what, Mama, I'm going to help you out. Let me help you manage these bills and see what we need to do with these assets. It wasn't like that at all. She did it, and it wasn't a good decision. She should have had more people around her to be honest with her, and who were willing to step in and be like, look, we can help you handle this.
Why you say it wasn't a good decision?
She had absolutely no experience with money.
Mm-hmm.
None. You can't learn. You have to have a teacher when it comes to finances. You can't think, you can't give a person $100,000 or whatever the dollar amount is and expect them to manage it wisely when they've never been in a position to have to budget it.
Well, I guess what
Yeah.
I'm asking is, did y'all lose? Like, did you have to lose your house? Did you lose the car? Were y'all homeless for a period of time?
So fortunately, there were enough. There was enough income to sustain us always. Fortunately, we were never homeless. However, she did end up having to sell our home. This was years later. I would say, what, maybe 15 years later. It was a while. It was a while. Just because, bad decisions year over year can cause those types of things to happen.
So pile up.
So.
And this is interesting because this is the time to where you may be fortunate enough to have family, peripheral family members on the outside that see that you may need assistance, and they can step in and provide support or assistance in whatever way that they have. Did you all have that? And was there any difference in the support, being that there's a cultural difference? Was there a different response from your Mexican family members in comparison to your African American family members. What was that? What was that like?
You know, from the outside looking in, and in hindsight, if anyone stepped up to assist, was probably her family more than anything. My dad's two sisters who were from Chicago, they just kind of, came down. They really never liked my mom for whatever reason. I mean, they were definitely, polite and all that good stuff, but they just kind of left and went back to Chicago and kind of did their own thing. We had another relative on my dad's side, my Aunt Norma. She was somewhat helpful, but for the most part, it was my mom's side of the family that did attempt to step in. Now, if they helped and how much my mom allowed them to help her, I don't know.
Right.
But if anyone was around, it was definitely my mom's side of the family. She has a few cousins that she's very close with, right, to this day, that have always been around.
So let's fast forward, and not too fast, because I think this story is really going to get interesting here in a few more minutes. But talk about the senior prom and going to the prom, not having your dad, and did that affect you at all? And then the decisions that were made post-graduation as far as higher education.
Mm-hmm. Senior prom came and went. I of course, it's moments like that. That's when it started to kind of hit me like, I really don't have a dad around. My dad, it really started coming to me at 17, 18 years old. Like, dang, he was hard on me. I miss him. I kind of need his guidance now. I need him to tell me if this is the guy I should be even go to prom with. Just little things like that you want your dad to protect you from and guide those decisions you want him to guide you in. And I mean, it was fine. It really didn't affect me too much on prom. But then, as you get older, you start thinking, well, who's going to walk me down the aisle? That kind of thing. But in addition to that, I was, not to toot my own horn again, I think I was a pretty decent student athlete. And that was another aspect where I really needed him. Since no one else around me, my mom really didn't know, what colleges should I be looking at? Should I be applying for scholarships? Should I have recruiters come see me? My coach ran 4 different track clubs throughout Houston. So he was a good coach, but he maybe wasn't the best coach to really give individualized attention. And I really needed my dad during those years. I really didn't have anyone behind me to push me like, you do need to do this because you're good at this, and perhaps this can pay for your school. So I think that's when it really started to kick in, like, I need him, so I really don't know. So I'm just going to, whatever happens kind of a mentality, whereas a father is going to sit you down and really take the reins, or teach you to take the reins in making some really solid decisions for your future. And that's when things started getting real for me without my dad.
So what happened after high school graduation? Did you go off to college? Did you just start continue working a full-time job? What decision did you make?
Luckily, my friends that I was surrounded with, they all went off to college. My attitude was so bad, honestly, in high school. My ego was big. I thought I was good. Like, no matter what happened, like, something's good going to happen to me, kind of a thing. Stupid. In retrospect, very stupid. But, again, one of those things that my dad would have totally put the flame out on that fire. But I did decide, once I did apply for a couple of scholarships, just by, some classmates and some teammates telling me I should. Those things fell through, and I was a little discouraged and angry and bitter. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take a year off. But I did eventually go to college because my friends are all around me. They all went. So it's like birds of a feather. It's very true. They flocked together. So I'm like, I can't be the only one not going to college. So I went ahead and went.
Yep. Good story. Anything you want to share before we get to that one day that kind of changed, a game changer for you? Anything else that you think would be good to share? Because I really want to get into this game changer that kind of adds some more flame to kind of your story.
I got a question.
What?
I got a question.
What's that?
So we've been ducking and dodging around this, and I've heard it come out a couple of times about Selena running track, and then she said she was pretty good. So elaborate on that, Selena. Tell the people on your athleticism, what sports you participated in, and how good were you really?
All she finna do is confirm what we said earlier.
I'm gonna give her this opportunity to talk about the medals she got and all this stuff.
Yeah, all she finna do is
the rumor is she could fly. And when I found out, I'm like, she too cute for that. But they say she can get down. So go ahead and tell the people, Selena, what events and all that type of stuff.
I still can.
Oh no, hold on now. Wait a minute.
I started playing volleyball when I was in the 5th grade. That's actually my passion. I love volleyball. I mean, it was kind of crazy when you hear players say they're one with the ball. I felt at one with the ball in volleyball. It was
you were a setter.
I'm fair.
You were a setter.
No, I see, and that's another thing. Like, cause I'm short, why I got to be the setter? Like,
I'm
no. Man, I could jump.
What else you gonna do? You can jump well. What else you gonna do? You can jump.
You better ask. Man, I could fly at one point.
I want to see the film on this right here.
I got it on VHS, baby.
Hell yeah, all right, road trip.
No, she need to upload that to YouTube so we can use it. I
started running track, and my parents put me in ballet and tap when I was 3 years old. And once I got a whiff of racing people and knowing I could beat them, and I quit dance and like when I was 6. And I started running Little Fry track at my elementary school up until like 3rd grade. And then I ran track through high school. I played softball in middle school too, because track wasn't available, just because. But I was really good in track. I ran because I was just naturally fast, and volleyball was just really my passion. I was pretty good. I made my relay team. We always made state. We won state my senior year in the 4x1 relay and the 4x2 relay. And I placed, I believe, 2nd in the 100-meter dash at state my senior year. I always made all district first team in volleyball because I was just that good. And I was at one with the ball. So yeah, I think I was pretty good. I think, whenever I have children, I'm gonna be that crazy teen mom if I notice any talent in my children. And I'm going to push them because I felt like no one really pushed me. I mean, I love the sports, but it's always good to have that one person help guide you in those decisions that could really take you somewhere.
Tyke.
What's that?
Sound like Friday Night Tykes here.
Yeah. She sound
like a Friday Night Tyke coach.
She gonna be one of them.
Don't get the children no water.
Don't get the children no water. Don't be.
Yep, you're right.
Y'all need to keep. Get out there. Get off the ground and get out there. What you crying for?
Right.
What you crying for?
That's right. You gotta want it.
Lord have mercy.
But I will say, and the other thing that I want to say before, I know you asked if there's anything else that I want to say before we go into the next phase of my life. You did mention or ask, is that why I studied what I studied? And essentially that is. Once I caught grasp of how my mother was managing money and things of that nature, that absolutely did point me in the direction of financial services, which is why I'm in the field that I'm in today.
Financial services. Yep. That money. So let's.
She's serious too.
Oh,
she's serious with the money.
Oh yeah, she don't play with people's money. She don't play with the. So if you need a financial advisor, you can always reach out to Selena. But unfortunately, we can't give you her Instagram handle. So I don't know how you go. So maybe you need to reach out to us, and we can screen you to make certain that you legit and you just not trying to see what she looked like in person.
Oh gosh, I'll give it out at the end of the show. Jeez.
So let's continue. Let's talk about that day. That day when you were being a financial advisor and got some life-changing news. Can you kind of break down that particular day and what happened, and then kind of take the story from there?
Yeah, absolutely. Up until that day, everything was great. Working at the bank at Washington Mutual at the time, Life was good, of course, dealing with my dad and things like that. I'd finally found peace. Of course, you never stop missing your parents when they pass. Would miss him. I think I might have had a boyfriend at the time, whatever. This man walks
How old are
into
you? How old are you?
27.
Okay.
At that point, I was 27. And this gentleman walks into the bank, and he's older. He looked like he might have been in his 60s. And asks, he's staring at me, like that awkward stare. Like, I'm like, is this dude trying to flirt with me? Because there's some older guys that think they still got it and be still trying to holler. And I was like, this is gross. Like, what is he staring at me for? And I mean, he stared long and hard and asked if he could sit with me at my desk. So I was like, sure, because I didn't want to be completely rude. So we sat at my desk, and he mentioned that he would like for me to have lunch with him and his daughters. And I'm like, sir, I'm sorry. I don't believe that's appropriate. And he went on to say that he just said, you know what, I knew your father. And I'm like, oh, great. And I really get excited when people are like, you know what, I used to work with your dad, or I knew your dad. It excites me. I love talking about him. So, of course, that caught and held my attention. And we talked, and he was like, yeah, I knew your dad. I also knew your Uncle John, which my Uncle John was my dad's best friend. They were Air Force buddies. And the conversation ended there. I kind of brushed it off. He left, and I'm like, man, that was weird. I called my mom, and I'm like, Mama, this guy named Alan came to my branch today and told me that he knew Daddy, and he knew Uncle John, and he knows all these people in our family. She said, I gotta call your Aunt Norma because he's just a big flirt. And I don't know why he's coming up there trying to disturb you and bother you. And I was like, whoa, like she flipped out, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm like, whoa, what's the big deal? So I just brushed it off, but it was always in the back of my mind.
And you told her his name and all of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did.
And she kind of, and your mom
She was a little pissed off.
She was hot. Uh-huh.
She was pissed. And brushed it off. I would say 3 months later, I get into work, and I was actually supposed to go in early, but ended up coming in late for whatever reason. And one of my colleagues was like, she looked really nervous. She was like, hey, I have some news for you. And I'm like, what? She said, there's a man came in and wrote down a note and put it in an envelope. He said he needs you to read it immediately. I'm like, okay, what did he look like? And the first person that came to my mind was that same gentleman that said he knew my dad from a few months prior. And I was like, is he bald? Did he have like a beard? And because that was how he looked the last time. She was like, yep, that was him. So on this Post-it note, it said, I am your biological father. And if you don't believe me, ask your Aunt Norma. We need to talk.
So your Aunt Norma, that's your dad's sister, or I forget, that's your dad's sister?
So Aunt Norma is Uncle John's wife.
Okay.
Technically speaking, Aunt Norma and Uncle John were my dad's very, very close friends. We were not blood related. It's just they were so tight. You know what I mean? You're just so tight. You just call each other, you have your kids call each other uncle and aunt kind of a thing.
Right.
So at this point, I am enraged because I'm like, what the hell is going on right now?
Right.
I go to the break room to make a phone call to my mother, and my mama is always on time answering her phone, right? And even if she does miss my call, she's calling back within minutes. So I called her and I waited. She didn't answer. I probably called her 6 times before she picked up. I don't know if it's mother's intuition or what, but she knew something was about to go down because I was blowing her up.
Had this gentleman reached out to your mom at all?
No.
Okay. So she had no idea other than the intuition That's
No
something.
clue.
Okay.
And I usually don't call her back to back like that. So long story short, she ended up answering, and I could hear it in her voice. It was just strange. She sounded very uncertain, like, hello. I'm like, yeah, what's up? This man named Alan came back and left me a note saying he's my biological father. Is this true? And the first thing she says is, well, me and your dad were broken up. Wait, what? So of course, I almost damn near ripped the phone out of the wall. I'm sorry. Can I cuss?
Yeah, Ratchet. Thank you.
Yes, you can cuss on this on these podcasts.
On this podcast, we
I'm
labeled
gonna
them.
try to refrain.
Yeah.
We
But,
labeled them explicit language.
oh,
So you
okay.
good?
So at this point, I was enraged with anger, and from that point, we didn't talk really much for about a year.
You and your mom?
A solid year,
A
yeah.
whole year?
We would talk, but I really wouldn't, we weren't talking like we are close now.
It was surface level conversation.
Extremely surface level. I would go, the longest I went without speaking to her at all was a couple of months.
Really?
Man. So what are you feeling? Like, what are
I'm
all
feeling
of the
like-
emotions that you got going?
The first emotion is, did my dad know? If he did know, which my biological father's name is Alan, Alan says he did know. And it actually renews, and my love and respect for my dad, like we all love our parents, but my love and respect for my father it's just out of this world now. Because if he did know, which I believe he knew that I wasn't his biological child, he never, ever made me feel anything different.
Did you ask your mom if he knew?
I did. And she said she wasn't sure. No, she said that he did know. Alan said that he knew, but he wasn't 100% sure if he knew. But they both, pretty much said it's highly likely that he did know. So at that point, it was just kind of like reopening the wound of losing my dad, because now I just want to tell him even more now than ever how thankful I am. My mom's life could have been completely different without him. Totally different. Apparently the situation with Alan, in a nutshell, my dad and my Uncle John, who were in the Air Force together, moved to Houston around the same time. Uncle John had a cousin named Alan who would come to gatherings and hang out. Allegedly, my mom and my dad who passed, were on rocky terms. So Uncle John's cousin, Alan, kind of moves in, and they develop, they develop something, and let Alan tell it. He was in love with my mom, and admittedly just was not in a position to take care of more children because he had already had 5 children prior to me.
Right. So yeah, that's a testament to your dad to be able to maintain and to never even give a hint that something was
None.
weird. You know what I mean? Even if he did not knew, in his work, you didn't have any clue about what was going on. So that's really a testament to, his integrity and his fatherhood.
Yes.
Yeah, of his fatherhood for sure.
But what's
Absolutely.
happening? What's happening with you?
Boy. If it would BG, I don't know. Like they said, be some smoke in this city. Okay, my bad, Tyke.
No, what's happening in that year? So you're not talking to your mom. Are you even communicating to Alan? Are you believing Alan's story? What's happening between you and Alan? And then also on top of that, he has 5 children. He has children of his own, and kind of what's happening within that year in that relationship with you, Alan, and his family?
The start with Alan and I's relationship was extremely rocky. As I stated, the wound of hurt from my losing my dad to begin with was reopened, because it's like, damn, I really want to share with you how thankful I am. It's amazing, your influence on my life. So him coming in and attempting to, hey, I'm your dad and all this other kind of stuff was like, yo, you come nowhere close to my father.
And look at I mean, no disrespect to Mr. Allen, but the approach was kind of not the best approach to leave a note.
It absolutely wasn't. It wasn't.
To leave a note that says, "I'm your
admittedly, he said the same thing.
Oh, he did. Okay, so I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Okay, I wasn't trying to be disrespectful, but I'm like,
no, not at all.
Like this guy comes in and he leaves a note talking about, I'm your father.
He sure did. Yep, he did. And even his wife didn't agree with how he, introduced himself into my life. So I wasn't even interested in getting to know Alan, but once he did tell me, what did interest me the most was that he did tell me I have 4 other sisters and 2 other brothers, and there are people nearby that want to meet you. I was more interested initially in getting to know my siblings. That in itself, I thought was pretty cool. Despite the fact, we all come from this guy, I was very interested in getting to know my siblings. So I really wasn't trying to pursue a relationship with Alan. I was just kind of like, not lost, just kind of going through the motions.
How did
just
he
really
find
not
you?
Feeling my mama and really not feeling Alan. But who are y'all? Who are y'all? These other people that, y'all are my siblings.
How did he find you?
So
It gets deeper.
MySpace, Facebook, what going on? In the mix?
They in the mix. Yeah, okay.
He saw you on In the Mix.
They in the mix.
Every school year, my mom would send him a school picture and of me, just to kind of, I guess, show how I'm growing over the years. After Uncle John and my dad passed away, my mom and my Aunt Norma, we still, grew up, we're family together, right? So they always stayed in touch. And my mom and Aunt Norma talk all the time. They still do to this day. And I believe Aunt Norma just went ahead and told him where I worked.
Oh, okay.
So
she spilled the beans.
Yeah.
She did.
Okay.
She dropped the dime. What did you ever get around to getting an understanding of why he picked that moment, that period of time, to make himself known to you?
His only explanation is that he just felt the urgency and felt it was time. He wasn't sure exactly how to go about doing it, but he just knew it was time. And had he had the opportunity to do it again, he would not have done it that way.
Okay.
So now we're outside of that year. From your story, you basically you started developing a relationship with your siblings, but not so much with Alan, and
No.
the communication between you and your mom is basically non-existent. What happens after that year?
After that year, I started wanting like real answers. I was more along the lines of, okay, we all need to get together and we need to talk about this. We need to talk about the truth needs to come out and why this happened this way. Did you not want me? How did you treat my mother when you found out she was pregnant? And all this stupid stuff that I wanted answers to. And I started recommunicating with my mom, not so much with Alan, because again, he kept trying to approach this new relationship as, I'm your dad, here I am, I do love you, I always have, but nah, man, like once again, there's no way you can come close to being my father, kind of a thing. So I still wasn't all that interested in getting to know Alan. I did, communication did get restored with my mom, but all in all, after that year, I started to grow closer towards a few of my siblings.
Man, interesting stuff. BG, anything?
Where we going next?
I mean, it's really just currently where we're at today. Where are you at today with Alan and your mom and even your siblings? Because I want to know that, but then also I want you to kind of, because I think it's, I mean, this could go on for hours, but I want to know where y'all are today, and really give Selena the platform to share anything she wants to share. How her story affected her, how she hopes it inspires, or any kind of remark where she wants to go. But like, how's the relationship today with you, Alan, your siblings, your mom, etc.?
So everything is great between all of us now after the past 7 years of getting to know each other and figuring out how we should allow this to go. Initially with Alan, as I stated, my mindset was, you're never going to compare to my father. There's no way, kind of a thing. And he continued to approach me as, but I'm your dad. Let me love you. I want to be a father to you. Let me guide you. When essentially that part of my life has already transpired, to where I needed him to guide me and protect me and all that. You know, my dad did that. But now I think he's learned and I've learned just to accept the relationship where it is in our lives. So, for example, although I don't need him to guide me on where to go to school or what type of career to what I should consider based on my strengths and all that kind of stuff, you know, his wisdom, although he was a rolling stone and he made bad decisions with not only me, but his other 8 children, he still has a lot of wisdom about life on where to go and how to handle situations. And in my case, what type of man maybe I should look at, or the qualities I need to look for in a future husband, or whatever the case may be. And just accepting it and stop trying to, or not try to force anything, just allow it grow as it may. So we're kind of at a place where we're pretty much friends, and it's good. I think if anything, or if anyone takes any away from this story, is the power of influence.
Well, quick question before you even get into that. How often would you say you talk to her?
Now we talk about a couple times a week.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about you and your mom? I know you want to talk about the power of influence, but what about the relationship with you and your mom today?
After I stopped looking or questioning her for answers and all that kind of crazy stuff, our relationship is fine. We communicate regularly, like daily for the most part. In her defense, what I had to grow up and learn is that as a mom, as a parent, all that everyone did in this situation was they did what they thought was best for me. And although in retrospect, I mean, essentially, I didn't lack for anything. Thankfully, my dad stepped up, you know. Thankfully, my mom didn't try to fight for her love and chase Alan all across the country because he was still in the Navy at that time. She just essentially made the best decision for herself and for me. And thankfully, I had a father who was, as BG stated, had enough integrity and had the level of commitment and heart to take care of us, even though that situation had absolutely nothing to do with him. That absolutely, to me, is God's grace. But we're great. Everyone's great. And I'm going to go back to the power of influence. I have a colleague, kind of a similar situation. His kid knows about him. He has a 17-year-old son and 2 younger daughters from his marriage now. And he was just telling me one day, you know what, Selena, I try to get back involved in my son's life. I wasn't there a whole lot. I keep trying to remind him I'm his dad. I try to do dad type things with him, take him to football games and do stuff with him, but he's not feeling me. And I'm like, well, how often do you try? And he was like, well, if he's pushing me away every time I come around, I don't try that often. Well, it's not the child's responsibility. even though the child may push you away, is what I told him, it's still your responsibility as a father to continue to try. And although Alan did make his mistakes, he does at this point in life has learned to continue to try. So if anyone out there has children that they're somewhat estranged from and their child does kind of give them a cold shoulder, keep pushing because it is your responsibility to do so. Secondly, with regards to influence, you never know who you're influencing. My dad was not biologically, we were not connected by DNA at all. And I am so much like him. It's pretty crazy. So now with that, all of us, you guys, my circle of friends, everyone out there, anyone who plays a part with children, man, we can impact them so much. We do not have to be blood, obviously, in this case. There are some, we all have good and bad qualities, but I would attribute 90% of my strengths to my father, who was not of the same DNA. So never doubt that you're not planting seeds with children, because we all are, every day, all the time, anytime you're in contact with them.
That's powerful.
Very, very powerful.
That's powerful. This would be kind of off topic, but then in another way on topic. So we often think about fatherhood and how it influences young boys and turning boys into men. You've kind of hinted on it, and as the impact that your father had on your life up to age 14 or whatnot. How important would you say, and why is it important for fathers to be equally as involved in young girls' lives?
They set the standard. They absolutely set the standard for everything that we do in life. Whether not only, in searching for qualities of what we would want in a husband, but just how to handle ourselves in business, the types of decisions to make. Dads, I think my dad was he was never really indecisive. He was a very masculine, a definite man. And I think a lot of that definiteness, carried over to me. But Jesus, I mean, yeah, not only to boys, but to girls as well. How to carry ourselves, the things that, are attractive to not only men who are pursuing us, but again, to make business connections, how to network. There are, of course, we have to carry ourselves in a ladylike manner, but at the same time, it's okay to have those qualities that can really help us execute different areas of our lives. But they said, yeah, y'all set the standard of what those girls, will accept and what we won't accept.
What you said something? Yeah, BG wrote that article. Environment supersedes DNA. Are you mentoring today? Do you have any young persons, or what are you doing from a mentorship perspective?
So, and that's interesting you brought that up. So
I know this, by the way. I just want the audience members to be able to know that it's more than just you talking, but you've also put your thoughts and your views into action. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've actually, for a while, I was praying for guidance on asking God, where can I serve, whether it's in whatever ministry that may be. And I think a couple of my strengths that I've developed over the past few years are working with kids. I have, through finding all this new family, I have a niece, she's 7, and I've dealt with other kids in the past as well that they're all about the same age, 6, 7, 8. And working with them and just seeing how they absorb, information and lessons and how enthusiastic they are, just kind of builds up my energy. So I like working with them. And then on top of that, I like financial literacy, which is what I'm somewhat passionate about. So I kind of put those 2 and 2 together and started working with Junior Achievement here in the Southeast chapter here in Houston, and through my job, and started doing financial literacy classes for 3rd graders in HISD. So it's not as much one-on-one mentorship. I hope to get to that point one day. But there are a couple of things that inner city kids in particular need most. And it's one, shoot, even high school kids really, is learning basic things about money and savings and what taxes are. You know, we may buy things, but there's an extra cost to these things, and there's a reason for that, right? On top of, you know, interest, you know, if you save your money, the bank will give you some. So all those kinds of things. So mentorship in particular, not yet, but those are two of the things that I like the most in junior achievement is I get to work with the kids and get them excited about money and giving them realistic perspective on how it all works.
Shout out to Junior Achievement. I also participate in Junior Achievement as a faithful Bowl-a-thon member. So shout out to JA. That's all I had, BG. I think that Selena's story is definitely another story that can be a part of our free lunch productions when we start making films and we start putting out large documentaries on our guest. Selena, who would you like to play your role? Sanaa Lathan, does she fit the mold?
What? We don't even look alike.
It'll be a lifetime. You ain't got VH1. You ain't got to look like the person.
You gotta look like the person. She fine though. What you think, BG?
I just take this moment, man. Just sitting here listening to the stories, a lot of things that I didn't know, but I've known Selena for a long time, and I just wanted to say how much I appreciated her and how much I have seen her grow over the years. I mean, just a beautiful woman through and through. So, I mean, I just applaud you in everything that you do. And I'm just wondering what's next. Is there anything that we should be looking out for? Anything that the people should be aware of that you're going to be putting out in the atmosphere? I know you talked about the mentorship, but is there anything else that you're doing spiritually, physically, anything else that we should know about?
It's been in my heart to begin a youth track club for inner city kids. So that's something that I'll be working on at the end of this year to launch in the spring, because track is in the spring. So look out for that. I'll let you guys know. And hopefully I can talk about it, or y'all can give me a shout out or an advertisement, because it's in my heart to do it at no cost for the kids and the kids' parents, rather, since I live in the inner city of Houston, in the Greater Third Ward
Tell them
area.
where you live. Tell them where you live now.
I live in the Tray, baby. I live in the Tray. So that's on my heart, and that would probably be the most important thing that is going to be happening for me 2016.
Yeah. I like that. So let us know however we can help push that forward. You know, we all about that. So exactly. I'm excited to hear that.
That's exactly what we stand for. So likewise, Selena, loyal, probably one of the most loyal people that you'll meet. When she's on your side, she's on your side. When she's against you, she's against you. She's loyal. Probably one of the most loyal people that you'll meet. One of the most considerate people that you'll meet. Genuine, authentic. She's an open book. You just have to ask. And really grateful that you were willing to actually be on the show and share that story. I think that a lot of the listeners they're gonna get a lot from this show, and I just think that you being the right person to really open up and share that story. We very, very thankful and grateful that you joined us today.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you guys. Again, you guys are inspiring so many people to step outside of their comfort zones and really take a step out onto faith in different aspects of life. So again, y'all are trailblazing the hell out of this thing. So y'all keep pushing. Y'all always have my support. So thank you guys for having me on.
Thank you.
No doubt.
Thank you. Do you want to? Now this is up to you. No pressure.
Oh, Lord.
Do you want people to be able to reach out to you or connect to you, how can people reach you?
That's fine. So
Send her email. Hit up on MySpace.
my Instagram name is the number 3, Selena, Celina. That's my Instagram name. It's all good.
Okay, yeah. Fellas, look her up. I think you won't be disappointed.
Stop. Oh my God.
BG, how can the people reach us, man?
Yes, indeed. So check us out, freelunchpodcast.com for podcasts and blogs. Also, hit us up on Twitter, FreelunchPodC, and check out the new and improved Free Lunch TV on YouTube, where we drop our interviews and documentaries and all that stuff. So check us out. Hit us up. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, definitely go back and check out some of those interviews we've done on Free Lunch TV. We've interviewed some of our mentees and some of the folks that we kind of have one-on-one relationships with, and they kind of tell their story. And really the series that we're focused on now is mentorship and being a bridge builder. So go check us out on the YouTube, and also check out Thomas Allen Collection. Thomas Allen Collection, when tying a knot really counts. You can reach out to him at thomasallencollection.com. We definitely need to figure out, Mr. Allen, Mr. Sullivan, I know you're listening at this show, how we can get Silk the Shocker a tie so that we can have him on our show, and we can interview him and really talk about how they got started with No Limits. So that's all we got. That's the end of the show. Free Lunch Podcast, home of the New South movement. No game, no gimmick. And we out of here. Peace.
Let's go, let's go, let's get it. Let's go, let it go now. Let it go, let's get it. Get it, got 'em. Let's go, let's go, let's get it. Let's go, let it go now. Let it go, let's get it. Super mathematics, not a problem. No lock for that old block. So sign away for that bull rock. Super small, handcrafted art designs. No, they know not. Flow tougher than tough time. Blacker than the gram, they drum line. No overdose, I'm overwoke. I'll be awake for crunch time. Be everywhere like sunshine. I leave right cross. Punchline, I beat the track. I eat the track. Brown paper breakfast. Lunchtime, dinner date, dessert tray. Ramadan, flow hungry. You see the sign between the line. It's G's only. No dummies, I flow lovely. They go nutty. They catch a feeling. These hoes touch. Yeah, I tell that jump off, no bunches. No awakening, home study. But you're so pretty. Bless your soul. Sometimes the best way to touch him. Stand and go. Let's go, let's go, let's get it. Let's go, let it go now. Let it go, let's get it. Get it, got 'em. Let's go, let's go, let's get it. Let's go, let it go now. Let it go, let's get it. Mathematics, before I chose the path chose me. This is a Lord's plan, divine decree.